configured our technology and it's ready for deployment. We have also received the ballot boxes, the ballot papers for this by-election, which have already been dispatched to our warehouses in Nyandarua County. Yesterday, we completed the training of all the election officials. So our officers are properly trained and they are ready to conduct elections as per the regulations. Of more importance is the issue of the voters register. We have certified the register that will be used in Ol Kalou. That is the voters register. And this register is currently displayed at every polling station so that the citizens of Ol Kalou can verify and check if their names are there and if they are eligible to vote in the respective polling stations. As a commission, we continue working with our partners to offer voter education to the voters of Ol Kalou so that they understand how to exercise their rights. And we continue with stakeholder engagement up to tomorrow, where our team of commissioners will also be in Ol Kalou to meet with stakeholders, to meet with the candidates and their agents so that we agree on the final rules. The Commission reminds all stakeholders that the campaign has officially ended yesterday on Monday, 13th of July 2026 at 6 p.m. in line with the gazetted election timelines. And therefore, we request that any form of campaigning or engagement of voters after that time has ended is prohibited. And anybody engaged in further campaigns contrary to the laws is committing an electoral offense and is in breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct. And as a result, if we find anybody who is engaging in campaigns beyond the gazetted timeline, that person will face the consequences. In terms of the polling day activities, we wish to remind the people of Ol Kalou that all the registered voters in Ol Kalou constituency, they must turn up with their national ID cards that are valid. And for the case of the passport, they must verify and confirm that their passport is valid, it has not expired, because these are the primary documents that will be used to identify each of the eligible voter, each of the voter who is in our digital register. In terms of identification, the actual identification of the voters during that day, from morning when we open the polling stations, once you show up with your ID or your passport that is valid, we shall use the biometric means to identify and authenticate those voters. Biometric means your fingerprints or your facial features, which we have captured in our database, because the register we are using will be the digital register that is integrated in our KIMS kit. As required by law, we have gazetted the register for Ol Kalou constituency. And that register, I wish to assure the people of Ol Kalou and indeed Kenyans that that register is secure. And we certify that register on 5th of June 2026. So the register is published in the Kenya Gazette. It is a public document. You can access it there. And for those of you who are in Ol Kalou, the register is already displayed in each of the polling stations where you will be voting. So we have several copies that have been printed already and dispatched to those polling stations. And the law requires we do this 7 days before the election. So we have complied with the law. So anybody who claims that the register has been manipulated is spreading false, misleading, and unsupported rumors. So we urge the citizens to ignore any such persons, be they politicians or activists or any other representative of anybody in this republic. As IEBC, we take the issue of the register seriously, and we make sure that it's only the authentic register that is being used during these elections. That, of course, goes to also the issue of identity cards. We heard through a section of the media, and we have investigated this matter, where certain politician has urged the citizens of Ol Kalou not to show up with their IDs or their passports. That is completely misleading, and that matter the Commission is dealing with it decisively. Opening and closing of the polling stations. Ladies and gentlemen, again, as per the law and our regulations, the polling stations open at 6 a.m. and they close at 5 p.m. And therefore, any station that for one reason or another that is justifiable is not open by 6 and there's a delay, we shall compensate that time which is lost and ensure that those people who turn up and who remain at the polling stations as late as 5 p.m. and they are on the queue, they will be granted the opportunity to continue to exercise their right to elect their member of parliament. So we shall not bar anybody who comes late, as long as you are at the polling station by 5 p.m. latest, in the evening, that is. So anybody who comes past 5 p.m. will not be allowed to join the queue in order to vote. So all those people who are eligible must come between 6 when we open and 5 p.m. when we close. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, and indeed fellow Kenyans, the use of mobile phones in the polling booth is prohibited. You heard some time back when we conducted the elections in other electoral areas, we saw one individual had taken a picture of their ballot paper after voting. They took pictures of the marked ballots and circulated it on the internet. We wish to remind Kenyans and indeed the voters of Ol Kalou that please do not take a picture of your ballot paper once you mark it, once you select the person you want to be your member of parliament. This is because the sanctity and the secrecy of the vote requires that you keep it secret. That's why it's very, very important that we facilitate you to vote by way of secret ballot. So it will defeat the purpose if you again make that ballot public. And it is against Section 7 of the Election Offences Act. You shall actually be prosecuted. And if you are found guilty, you will pay a fine a fine of up to 1 million Kenya shillings. So we need to secure the elections, to ensure that there's peace, there's tranquility, and the voters of Ol Kalou exercise their rights peacefully to elect their leaders. So as a commission, I would like to thank the close collaboration we've had with the National Police, with other commissions present here, including National Cohesion and Integration Commission, to ensure that we make all the necessary arrangements, including security, so that the by-election in Ol Kalou succeeds. So I'll allow IG later on to speak on the security arrangements in place. But we, as a commission, would also like to note that with concern that there have been incidences that have raised a red flag and concerns to us as a commission as we carry out our mandate to facilitate Kenyans to elect their elected representatives. We've seen situations where, in some cases, goons are present in our electoral areas, are mobilized to intimidate and to disrupt the peaceful campaigns and the peaceful business of the people in those affected electoral areas. Ol Kalou has not been spared either. There are those reports of incidences of goons roaming around, and of course facilitated by some of the actors or players. We wish to call upon all those people, political parties, the candidates themselves and their political supporters, to refrain from any acts that will constitute violence and breach of the electoral code of conduct. Because we want this election in Ol Kalou to be the most peaceful and the most successful, that is conducted in an atmosphere that will allow a credible, free, fair, and transparent elections to happen in Ol Kalou. The code of conduct, ladies and gentlemen, will continue to be enforced. As you have seen, in the last few days, we have summoned some of those politicians who have been accused of engaging in some electoral malpractices. We have taken action on some of them, including fining some of them and requesting them to again sign the political decency code with us. Other cases are ongoing, and we will be updating the nation on what actions we are taking. So the Election Code of Conduct Committee is still in place. It will work until after the election has been concluded and the results announced. So any breaches of the Electoral Code of Conduct, we urge the public to report to the Commission so that we take firm and stern action against those perpetrators. So, as I conclude, in terms of results management and declaration, after the close of the polling stations at 5 p.m., all the presiding officers will commence the process of counting the vote in front and in full view of agents, observers, and the media. I believe you'll be there as members of the fourth estate to observe what's happening and to report. This counting will be done. The ballot boxes will be opened, the ballot papers will be counted, and the results tabulated at each of the polling stations in an open and transparent process. And to enhance transparency, the agents present will be allowed to take photographs of official result form 34A. Let us distinguish what I said before. Your ballot paper, the one you mark as a voter, that is sacred, and it's sacred. I've said sacred, and it's also sacred. So that is the document that we do not want anybody to take pictures of and circulate. But where we tabulate and record the results, that is from 34A, agents can take pictures and send to their candidates or their political parties. A copy of the result form, that same from 34A, a carbonated copy, will also be pasted at each of the polling stations. Whether it's in a classroom, it will be pasted on the door of that classroom for everybody to see, because there's nothing we are hiding. It will be as transparent as that. Returning officers will thereafter receive the results, that is at the constituency tallying center. They will verify, collate, and announce the constituency level results. So I know results will be known mostly by the party agents and the political parties. But please do not declare yourself the winner or your candidate. It is only the authorized officer, in this case for Ol Kalou, the returning officer, who will declare the winner in the presence of agents and accredited observers. So as I conclude, in fact, on the issue of the results, members of the public and the media as well, you can access the results in our public portal, which will be accessible to the public. You will click as we upload the results online. You can be able to follow the results and tabulate for yourself, so that you know that what we are doing is a transparent, accountable, free and fair election. that will meet the highest standards of credibility. A call to action as I conclude. The Commission calls upon all polling officials in Ol Kalou to discharge their duties with integrity, impartiality, and full adherence to the Code of Conduct. And we are also telling you that we do not spare our officers who engage in any misconduct, who commit any election offense. Such officers will be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted. So the law is very clear even to ourselves as officials that conduct these elections. Further, we urge all stakeholders, including political parties, candidates, agents, the media, and respective voters, to respect the law, uphold peace before, during, and after the polling, and refrain from any actions that may compromise the secrecy or integrity of the vote. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are my remarks and a briefing to the nation, and particularly to the people of Ol Kalou. And I thank you for
Chair. I'll just go straight to the message that we have from the National Cohesion and Integration Committee.